I'm gonna give you guys a landscaping tour around our house today and show you what's growing already this spring. For those of you new here, hi, welcome. My name's Cara. We're gardening here in Virginia, Zone 7A. We just recently built our house, and being a new construction build, it had zero landscaping whatsoever. You can go back and watch our older videos from last year and see the whole process from start to finish. It was just dirt, and we created all the beds from scratch, planted everything, grass seed, the works. Now it's definitely still a work in progress, but I've really appreciated having those videos from last year to look back on already and see just how far we've come. Because it's sometimes easy to forget that all this was dirt and all around the house was dirt too. So it's nice to see things filling out already. Now the grass is definitely still a work in progress, but I think it's looking pretty good so far. My husband Ryan just mowed it last night, so it's nice and freshly cut for you guys. We've had our chickens on this front yard, and it's very interesting because you can definitely see, maybe I'll put the drone up in the air, you can definitely see where the chickens have been and fertilized the grass versus where they haven't. It's definitely a good natural fertilizer, and hopefully they're eating lots of ticks and bugs while they're at it. Our house faces directly north, so it's easy to distinguish the beds. I just call it north bed, south bed, east bed, west bed. So we are going to start on the west side of the house. My favorite side, our rose bed. At our last house, I did not have enough sunlight to grow roses. And so this is our first house where I've been able to have a designated area for roses. And I'll just say I've been hit by the rose bug hard. I'm really loving having all these beautiful smelling flowers. Let's start all the way down at the end and work our way back. This slope here has been very hard to mow and weed eat. So we decided just to go ahead and turn it into a flower bed and mulch it. Down there at the very end, I have a couple peony bushes that are just starting to come up. Along our retaining wall fence, I have an Eden rose growing. This Eden rose I purchased last year from heirloomroses.com. This is the first year, though, that I've seen blooms on it. It does have a lot of new growth it's put on already this season that I need to tie up to this fence and work on training it to go down the retaining wall fence. Kind of an antique kind of look to it. It has a pink center with white petals that start out almost a slight green color. Some of the prettiest blooms are down here towards the bottom. Next to the Eden rose down here on the ground is one I just planted, bare root from David Austin. It's called Munstead Wood or Munstead Wood. It should have a deep kind of burgundy colored flower. I just planted this a few weeks ago and it's already put on some green foliage. When you get a bare root rose, it basically looks kind of like a dead stick with roots attached, but it is sprung to life. It was just planted when it was dormant. Since we've mulched this kind of hillside here, I have plenty of room to plant a few extra roses too, so I'll have to keep my eye open. My vision for this section was that I'd be able to sit on my front porch swing and have beautiful fragrance all the time whenever I was sitting there. And it's definitely been a success so far. The Eden rose has very light fragrance, not too strong, but the rest of the roses here that I'm about to show you all have a very strong fragrance, and it's definitely very lovely whenever you're sitting on the front porch swing. There's actually 2 yellow roses here. I planted them a little bit on the closer side so that they would kind of seem like one big bush instead of 2 individual bushes, and that's definitely been a success so far. These yellow roses, if you saw my planting video last year, then you know they weren't supposed to be yellow. They were supposed to be kind of almost an apricot coffee cream color, but as you can see, they are a beautiful vibrant yellow and they smell absolutely wonderful. So it is a lovely accident and I am perfectly happy with these roses. I got these 2 at Costco bare root last season, and this year they have just been packed with blooms already. I've actually just come out here not that long ago and cut off a ton of these to bring inside the house. And as you can see, there's still tons of flowers left on them. So I'm very pleased with these 2. Next to the two yellow is Jude the Obscure. This is also a David Austin rose. And a toy truck. Yesterday when I came out, this flower was big and beautiful and looked absolutely perfect, and I left it on there to show you guys, but last night it lost its petals, so I don't have the big beautiful perfect flower to show you guys, but there are some pretty buds coming on. Out of all the roses I have, Jude the Obscure is the one that I think smells the best. I think it has more of a fruity scent to it than the rest of the roses that I have. And I also love the coloring. A lot of the petals are on the ground here. They must have just got blown off in the wind or something. But if you can see the detail of this petal, it has kind of a pale yellow apricot color that fades into like a white cream on the outer edges. And I just think it's gorgeous and it smells lovely. This is my favorite rose so far that I have. I have lots of new buds coming on, so we'll have lots of pretty flowers here soon though. Next to Jude the Obscure is Earth Angel. The Earth Angel rose is covered in flowers right now. This one I also ordered from heirloomroses.com. It has a really pretty peony kind of shaped flower, and I love those fully double cupped flower petal structures. I think that's probably my favorite rose structure, are the ones that look big and fluffy and have lots and lots of petals. At the beginning of the year last year, I started out with just roses on the west side of the house, and very quickly I fell in love with how beautiful they smell, and I've added some since then around other parts of the house as well, which I'll show you as we go around. On the front side of the house, it's basically a mirror image on either side of the door. We have a boxwood hedge all along the edge of the porch line. These are sprinter boxwoods. They will be a little bit smaller and more compact than your traditional boxwoods. In Virginia where we are, you'll see old farmhouses with huge, gigantic boxwoods. These won't get quite like that. In front of the boxwoods, I have several different varieties of hostas and a few astilbes tucked in there as well. This is the north side of the house, so it will get primarily shade in the hottest part of the summer. There's also a few tiny hydrangeas that are just starting to leaf out in this section as well. It'll take a little while for the boxwoods to get big and established and become a hedge like I'd like it to. And eventually the plan is to also add in a bunch more plants in front of the boxwoods as well. Ignore all the weeds in the sidewalk. Our plan is to make these sidewalks masonry, concrete, maybe later this fall. And in case you can't tell, I'm very pregnant and I'm not pulling all those weeds in the sidewalk right now, knowing that it's just going to be all dug up here probably in a couple months. I've been focusing on just pulling weeds in the actual garden spaces. Ryan also just went through and mulched all the beds in the raised bed gardens, which a tour of all the raised bed gardens should be already posted if you want to check that out. I'll link it in the description. And he mulched the raised beds around the house as well. So everything's nice and freshly mulched, and it's a good day for a tour. Around the corner here, I had a bunch of tulips this spring that were beautiful and blooming here on the front side. All the tulips are dead now, and I'm still leaving the leaves so that they can soak up the sun and put energy into next year's flowers. These fluffy kind of green looking plants are Russian sage. Those will send off beautiful purple spikes as the summer goes on. We're now officially on the east side of the house. There's two big white drift roses that are covered in flowers currently. These, I believe, are called popcorn drift roses. Some of these drift roses have a slight yellow tone to them, and some of them have ever so slightly a hint of pink. Behind the drift roses, I have some gardenias and irises. The irises, for the most part, have already finished flowering. I had yellow irises, purple, and some purple and white varieties mixed in there. This iris is on its last leg, but that's the only one really left standing. Most of the other ones I've already cut back. There's also a couple powwow echinacea in here as well. And on the very front edge, these leafy looking things are hyacinths that are also done flowering for the year. However, they were beautiful when they were flowering and they smelled lovely. This little nook here, I've kind of let go a little bit on the wilder side. These three big tall things are sunflowers that volunteered themselves from some seeds that accidentally got dropped on the ground here last year. And beneath the sunflowers, there's some Dusty Miller that came back from last year, a little bit of lavender, some other bulbs. And then in the very back corner here, I have a camellia, which is a little slower growing, so there's not too much to show right now. And then this green bush here is an incredible hydrangea, which will have big white circular flower heads on it later this summer. So I'll be sure to show you guys those once they're blooming. This Bruna, I just cut back most of the dead foliage from the flowers, but there's still one little sprout here that's flowering. I love these blue, almost forget-me-not colored flower spikes that this sends off. And the silvery green foliage, I think, really lights up this shady area. I have another Brunera over here as well. And then along this little arch here, I have sweet peas. I just ripped out a bunch of these sweet peas because a lot of them had powdery mildew on it. So I was hoping to get a little more airflow and hopefully reduce that. Coming around that corner, next to our window well here, we have lots of Nepeta. This is always covered in bumblebees. And I've also noticed that the hummingbirds seem to really love this plant as well. Next to the kids' water table, I have three really big limelight hydrangeas here. And then all the green leafy foliage in between are leftover daffodil bulbs or hyacinth bulbs that I'm letting soak up some energy from the sun. Then rounding around this corner, there's a yellow Sunnyside knockout rose, as well as a little bit of cat's pajamas catnip growing. The Sunnyside knockout rose, I'm really enjoying it. I bought it on clearance last year at the end of the year at Lowe's, and I like how there's almost two different color flowers on it. Some of the flowers come out a dark, vibrant yellow, and then they fade to kind of a white, creamy color with a yellow center. So at any given point, it seems like you have both different variations of the flower color on the plant at the same time, which I think is lovely. There's also a little limelight hydrangea and a volunteer squash plant. This bed is a new bed for us this spring. This is kind of what I've been calling my kitchen garden area. I have lots and lots of herbs planted all throughout this section. And there's also a lavender border around the edge that I just planted out. I have pretty much every herb you can think of. I have parsley and dill, sage, thyme, rosemary, chamomile, cilantro, all different types of herbs, oregano. And then in those two big black pots, I have my mint. Mint is known for spreading pretty rapidly if you don't contain it to a pot. So I have two different types of mint. I have kind of a mojito mix mint, and then I also have a pineapple flavored mint in those pots. And then in front of those pots, that green thing there is a hydrangea. And that's a sunflower that volunteered from our bird feeder that used to be right there. Next to the sunflower in my rain gauge is another David Austin rose that I just planted out from bare root a few weeks ago. That is the Lady of Shalott rose. It'll have pretty orange flowers. These are some marigolds that self-seeded from last year, and my hyacinths that have already died back. That pretty much does it for around the house right now in terms of landscaping. On the other side of the porch here, I do have a couple volunteer plants of sunflowers and marigolds that self-seeded themselves from last year, but I haven't really been doing anything with that bed over there. That's a project for a later date. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.